welcome to The One Show with Matt Baker.
With Alex Jones, and welcome to the only show on TV that dares to find a connection between electrifying drivers, boat-stealing poets, and a quiz show host with the ultimate poker face.
In the words of Sooty, Izzy Wizzy, let's get quizzy. Just ask it again, but slightly more patronising. Like everything else on television, it's a sham, a farce. I'm joking.
Please welcome Victoria Corin Mitchell.
What a very good evening, Victoria. Very good evening. So, we've seen the wonderful clips of you there in Only Connect, and also Have I Got News for You. But the reason we're playing Poker Face and talking about it is because this is a real thing. I mean, you are a professional poker player.
Well, I used to be back in the day before I had a child.
You've stopped now, have you?
I mean, I occasionally play, but my brain's slightly fallen on the floor.
Yeah, but they go on till early hours of the morning, don't they? So it's not that practical with a child.
It's very well suited to just flying on your own across the world and marching across some city late at night with cash, smoking. Not really my new life. 43 stone with a baby. Going, oh, look, what's the monkey saying? I don't really play poker.
Because it was, though, more than a hobby, wasn't it? I mean, you were really successful, to put this in context.
Oh, no, I was a proper poker champion. We called it a sport. I mean, it's a sport you get to sort of sit and eat during it. Right. My kind of sport. But insofar as it was a sport, I was a proper champion.
Yeah, you were.
Well, obviously, it's all about reading your opponent, as well as everything else. So, Alex and I have got a hand each here.
OK.
So, I don't know if you can look at our faces and try and detect which one of us has the best hand. Ready?
OK, here's my worry. Do you know if you've got a good hand?
Well, I actually mentioned this earlier on, and I'm not sure if I have or not, but I think I have. Maybe.
I am going to guess...
Poker Face.
...that Alex has the best hand.
We'll show you to find out.
Right, you've got a straight flush, and well, that's very interesting. You've got the wheel in deuce to seven triple draw. So, there are variants of poker in which you've got the best hand and yours is nothing.
Right.
So it kind of depends what variant you're playing.
See, so I thought that was a really bad hand.
Yeah, it is.
We had this conversation earlier on. I said, this is going to happen. And it's happened.
Anyway, never mind. We've got lots to talk to you about. You've got this brilliant new radio show starting tomorrow in Radio 4 where women talk about cars. And one of the questions you ask is, what's in your glove box? So, with that in mind, we would like you to get in touch with pictures of your glove boxes, and weird and wonderful things you have crammed inside.
Yeah.
So Matt did it.
Well, I did. You see, I took a photo of my glove box and and it got quite a reaction from our friends. But there we are. I mean, you know,
I'm not being funny, Victoria. If that was on silent witness, right, you'd think he did it, wouldn't you? He's got the twine.
Is that straw?
Yeah, it's hay. It's hay.
It's hay?
Yes, it's hay and string and scissors and gloves.
I'd never been in mine until this morning to take a picture.
No, one of the many problems with the glove compartment is that you can't reach it from the driver's seat.
True.
It's a sort of area from which your passengers can pass you things.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Anyway, so if you would like to take a photo, send it in, then we will have a look a little bit later on.
We will indeed.
OK, happy?
Yes.
Let's go. All right, now, it's a number that we all dread calling, but when you do, you are guaranteed to find a lifesaver on the other end of the phone.
999 call handlers are calm and reassuring in the face of some pretty extreme situations. But who do they turn to in a crisis?
Ambulance service is the patient breathing.
Ambulance service is the patient breathing.
Every day, around 26,000 urgent calls are made to ambulance call centres in England.
Is the patient conscious?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Is the patient awake?
And in an emergency, one of these call handlers could make the difference between life and death.
Did he do this as an attempt to end his life?
At the South Western Ambulance Service call centre in Exeter this morning, things are already busy.
What symptoms have you got? What's wrong?
Call handler Lucy Carr is dealing with a suspected stroke.
Okay, are you able to raise both your arms and keep them there? Do you look very pale compared to normal on your face?
Meanwhile, Gemma Mark is dealing with an overdose.
600 mils. And what's his address?
Dealing with stressful situations like these can take its toll.
Is that an accidental overdose or was this intentional? Okay.
So what happens when the people in need are those taking the calls? We asked ambulance services in England how many of their call handlers were off work for a month or more because of stress. 5 years ago, the figure was 112. Last year, that number had nearly doubled to 202. 25 of those were based here in Exeter, the third highest figure in the country. So I'm here to find out why some staff are finding it difficult to cope and what the ambulance service can do to try and turn that around. Experienced call handler Debs Jones knows all about the demands of the job.
What are the pressures that face people who work in an environment like this?
It's just a very high turnover of emergency calls, and you get very little time between calls. It can be abuse from one caller to the next minute. It's a very emotional call from parents with a young child that's very poorly, and it's just an emotional roller coaster every day.
You've been a paramedic out on the road as well. In comparison, is it more stressful?
I found it more stressful purely because of the relentless turnover of calls, and personally I found that much more of a test.
The number of 999 ambulance calls has gone up by a quarter in the last 5 years, despite the rollout of the 111 non-emergency service. Call handlers say the amount of abuse they're receiving on the phone is also rocketing.
Ambulance services. Yes, I have an ambulance crew there. Are they conscious and breathing? Holy
It's very, very demanding, and that is a real mental and emotional resilience that you need to have in here. That really weighs heavily on us.
Last December, South Western Ambulance Service Foundation Trust launched the Staying Well service to improve support for both the physical and mental well-being of their call handlers.
Good afternoon, you're through.
Kate Searles is one of the team of mental health practitioners tasked with counselling staff.
They talk about abuse they get. Is that widespread?
Sadly, I think it's more common than we would like to think. Yeah, there was clearly a need, and I'm pleased that the service is there to meet that need now.
How can you help?
It might be that we support that person to go to their GP. It might be that we refer on for specialist counselling.
Debs accessed the service when she reached breaking point.
And how did it help you?
Massively increased my emotional resilience, really. I've learnt how to deal with each call, and it's just helped me get that good emotional balance back, which was really tough.
Is it a service then you think that every NHS trust throughout the country should be offering?
Absolutely. Improving our emotional resilience, actually you're going to get more out of us. We can be more productive if we're better supported.
Back on the call centre floor, and ambulances are on their way to the stroke and overdose victims.
Bear in mind that we are extremely busy, but we'll be there as soon as we can.
We are arranging an emergency ambulance for you.
Call handlers and dispatchers are there for us at some of the most stressful periods in our lives. It seems we're only just learning that they need someone there for them too.
You see, it's always the case those offering the support are not often thought about that they actually need help. So let's just hope that they do get the support and relieve some of that pressure, because at the end of the day, they're all there for all of us. Now, just a bit of a heads up, because we are going to be asking you to get involved in this puzzling brain teaser in just a few minutes. So have a pen and paper at the ready, or maybe get your mobile phone ready to take a photo of the screen. That's just a bit of a heads up for you. Al, what are you doing?
Matthew, get in. You're late. Come on. We need to move. We're on double
How
yellows.
exciting, how exciting. Here we go, the full green screen. Right, OK, I'm ready. Let's do
Now,
this.
the point of all of this, obviously, is because you've got this brilliant show starting tomorrow. I better keep my eyes on the road. On Radio 4. It's called Women Talking About Cars, and it's a bit like Desert Island Discs. But it's a vehicle in a sense of getting through somebody's life systematically, talking about which cars they've owned when they pass the test. And it's engaging and it's funny and it's brilliant. Was it your idea?
It was my idea. It was my idea. I like to tell people that it's a car show. What? I've always been a car expert, but it's not really like that. It dates back from when my old car finally died, a car that I loved very much.
Yeah.
Got to that point where they say...
after 10 years, wasn't it, as well?
It was after 10 years, and they said, oh, can't afford to get it through the MOT. And I literally cried, saying goodbye to it. I loved it. I cried, and later that day, my husband said, "What sort of car was it?" I didn't know.
Victoria.
I'd driven it for 10 years. I literally cried with grief when I said goodbye to it.
So fickle.
But I realised there's a different way of being interested in cars. You can love a car
Yes.
for the adventures you had in it, the places it took you, the memories. Do you necessarily know what HP? What is HP? It's a car thing.
Yeah.
Do you need to know that? No. No.
I
No, but it's an
agree.
interesting point because that sense of freedom that it gives you, and obviously then the discussions veer off very quickly into all kinds of wonderful adventures that you've had. So what were you actually like when you were driving this car for 10 years? Were you a good driver? I mean,
I was a pretty terrible driver, but I was actually quite tomboyish. I think I thought like a man. I think I'm a good driver in the sense that I speed towards things and veer away at the last minute, and I go, get me, avoiding the obstacles. Because actually being a good driver involves driving quite... I mean, look at us here, no seatbelts.
No seatbelts.
We're looking at each
I'm
other.
looking at you.
can we go as far as asking how many
look,
points on the
it's-
licence? Can we go that far?
I tend to have a rolling 9, but I...
Rolling 9.
Rolling 9. Amazing.
Yeah, just the steady ground, middle ground.
It's never anything exciting. I always break the speed limit in a really mundane way. So I think it's 40, so I'm doing a sensible 37.
Yeah.
Turns out it was 30. Here's some more points.
I mean, obviously we're not
don't we all?
condoning this, but your first two guests, Dawn French and Olivia Coleman, speeding is a common theme, isn't it? I mean, both of them have done speed awareness, like myself, made some lovely friends, to be fair. But, you know, they're very frank and honest about it.
Well, Dawn French tells a furious story about how she was going home after a gig and she was driving through the West Country really late at night. There's nobody on the road. There were some roadworks, but nobody working on. And she drove over the border from Somerset into Devon and got done for speeding in both counties.
I mean, that's not fair, is it?
It's really not fair.
It's really not fair.
No.
No.
And it turns out that you have quite a lot in common with Olivia Coleman. Let's just have a little listen. Here we go.
Yeah.
You did sketch shows together on stage and TV, and Peep Show, where you and David Mitchell played a married couple. How did you find him as a husband?
But what's he like then as a backstreet driver? Backstreet? Backseat even, yeah.
Well, see, David doesn't have a driving licence, so I think he knows not to criticise.
So he keeps it stum.
That's the thing. He occasionally says, are you meant to have the white lines going down the middle of the car, or should you be in between them? But he knows if he made it sound critical, I would just shout, perhaps you'd like to drive. Oh, no, you can't.
Oh.
So he's very kind and tolerant and grateful that I'm driving.
Good.
Oh,
we haven't got any change, Dave. Wasting your time.
We might be able to throw you a humbug, Dave. We've got humbugs down here, but there we are. Anyway, actually, that's a good point because Dave is a big fan of Only Connect, and we can't have you on here without talking about this. It's very successful, isn't this game show? The hardest game show, they say, on television, which we're going to be talking about in a little while. But basically, we've robbed a part of your formula. We've come up with our own edition of The Wall.
Right.
Yes, we have indeed. Now, write these down. Here we are, okay, like Matt said earlier. Or you could take a picture of your telly, or you could pause us if you want. And for anyone who hasn't seen the show, we've put names of 16 car makes and models on the grid, and we want you to split them into 4 groups of 4. This is right, isn't it, Victoria? And tell us what connects each group. But the connections are not car related, so don't let that distract you.
No, do send your answers in before the end of the show, and then the grid we also put up on the website and the Facebook for anybody who didn't jot down the words in time.
I was still driving there, even though we weren't actually on a shot of
Do you
me
actually drive like that with the steering wheel, just sort of up
not
and
very
down?
often. Or on the side, to be honest. But anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
Right, while we pull over for a quick comfort break and potentially a stale sausage roll, who knows, we will leave you in the capable hands of the One Show presenters.
Yes, now, so far, our pensioners have road-tested high-tech home gadgets and security software. Well, tonight, it's cars of the future. That's if they can work out how to charge them up, that is.
Hello, my darlings. Today, we're giving Jeremy Clarkson a run for his money. We're testing the green future of motoring. In 3 state-of-the-art electric cars. What could possibly go wrong? Put your foot down now, Frankie.
Let's go. This is the first electric vehicle I've driven since my milk round back in 1970.
But technology's moved on. 5 years ago, there were hardly any electric cars. Now there are nearly 100,000 on our streets. We're going to put them to the test.
Do you shove it up there?
No.
In the Renault Zoe, Dave and Linda Caulfield, can they charge it?
Give it a wobble.
I am.
We challenge Frank and Danny Baker to sell a BMW i3 to a real customer.
There's a lot of space here.
But first, me and my non-pensioner pal Lindsay Farnworth are going for a day trip to a garden centre in the Nissan Leaf. On a full charge, it'll do 155 miles, but we're nearly a third of the way through that already.
This is a little bit further than I thought.
We're suffering from something called range anxiety.
What does it say now?
Well, we're doing all right.
Okay.
Still at 69% and 77 miles.
Okay.
So as long as we're within that range,
Now, don't forget, we've got to get back.
Yeah, we've got to get back.
So we've got
Don't forget that.
Will we make it? For Dave and Linda's Renault, it's top-up time at a nearby sports centre.
Excellent. Now all we've got to do is try and figure out how to charge it.
Can't wait to try this.
Never mind charging the car, Linda's got to figure out how to pay. With one of these, you need a special payment card.
Show card. Oh,
Hey, all we need's a lead.
Finding it shouldn't be a problem for ex-detective Dave.
Linda, a clue. We have liftoff. Hey up. We've got a flashing light.
Should we get the car and wait? I'm freezing.
Good idea. A full charge here could take 4.5 hours.
I could have filled 7 tanks of petrol now.
Although it would then go 250 miles.
Right, good night, I'm having a kip.
This is Ian Makinson. He's in the market for a new motor. The government want more of us to buy into electric cars. Have Frank and Annie grasped their benefits enough to sell Ian this BMW?
Pleased to meet you, Ian.
Good to meet you.
It's getting your head round an electric car, charging it up in the garage, finding charging points. It takes about 4 hours on your charger, which you have in the boot of the car, which you take out, put into the garage, plug it in. Being a market trader for about 30 odd years, I can sell. Lovely to drive. So easy.
So, have they got a buyer? Meanwhile, Lindsay and I have made it to the garden centre. But how much power have we got left?
Perfect. So we've got 75 miles.
Yes.
We could go on our holidays.
We could. Plenty of power to get back home. I'm impressed. So, are we all sold on electric cars?
I don't feel it's any different driving the car than if I was driving a petrol or a diesel vehicle. It feels exactly the same.
And that is good.
And that's good.
I love the quietness of it. Very, very easy to handle. It's
Very smooth, wasn't it?
very smooth.
The initial outlay in any electric car is expensive, but the running costs are superb. They're next to nothing.
The downside for me, of course, is the battery life.
I can't get my head around timing it into your journey and having to do all that.
Would probably be all right if I was doing short journeys, runs to the supermarket, taking the kids to school, that kind of thing.
You don't have to ask Father Christmas to bring one on there.
No, darling, no.
But it is on Frank and Annie's Christmas list.
It's really the car of the future, there's no doubt about
Without
it.
any doubt.
So, have they persuaded a petrol head to go electric?
I think overall the car I was impressed with.
He thought we were very technically minded.
Would I buy a car from Frank and Annie?
We hopefully have sold this car.
Probably not.
Well, I don't know why, because Frank and Annie were, I mean, they were convinced.
We'd buy a car from Frank and Annie.
I
wouldn't we?
would.
And listen, don't forget that the government offers grants of up to £4,500 if you are buying an electric car. So what we did there is we included that price in the ones that were mentioned in the film.
Now, Only Connect, let's get back to that for a second, because we're going to do the reveal of the quiz we set
In a while,
you
you still got, well, keep going
yeah,
with it.
keep going. But it is billed as the toughest show on telly. I mean, does it sometimes baffle you too, though, Victoria?
Oh, completely. No, if I watch it, I can't answer any of the questions. And I was there when I was recording.
I feel so much better now.
But it's sort of difficult or not, depending on what kind of brain you have. In a way, something like Mastermind is more difficult because there's real knowledge and facts you might not have. Whereas Only Connect, sometimes it's stuff that a 5-year-old would know, but you've got to make the connections. So sometimes it's, for example, a month of the year is hidden in the middle of all the words.
Yeah.
So you've just got to spot it. You've got to figure out where the question's going.
It's so classy as well that there's no prize money.
There's no prize money.
Yeah, just
it's for
makes
glory
sense.
alone. Our
so
teams
classy.
are not interested in prize money.
Yeah.
What they want to do is put on their favourite jumper, come along to the quiz,
Too right.
really grapple with the questions.
I love it for that.
Yeah.
Listen, now, there's all things that wind us up about driving.
Yeah, for example, people who don't indicate drives me mad.
People who swerve in and out of lanes.
Yes,
Good.
good.
I cannot bear people who throw litter out of their window as they're driving along.
Yes.
And cigarette butts.
mid-lane hoggers as well. We
dear
don't
me.
like that. We could go on, couldn't we?
We could,
This
but
is
listen,
endless.
while we quietly blow a gasket, Tommy has been to meet the men united by their hatred of metric road signs. Oh.
For many a year, we bought apples by the pound, got our petrol by the gallon, and measured our land by the acre. Yes, of course, a lot of that's been lost, but for many, it's been comforting to live in a world where distance was at least still measured in yards and miles.
But what's that? Signs that are in metric, not imperial.
Meet Derek and Tony. They're fuming that metrication is continuing to spread, so much so that they've become saboteurs, taking down or altering offending street signs. Tony's been arrested 7 times, but he's still at it.
Does it make that much of a difference to how we live our lives?
If it ain't broke, why fix it, basically? We've got 2 million road signs in the country, all the speed limit signs, footpath signs. Have we not got better things to do, changing them all to a system when we're perfectly used to the existing one? People appreciate that we have a slightly different, quirky culture. They like that. The eccentric British.
Why would people at home support your campaign against metrication?
This is the system that they've had for 200 or 300 years. Why should we just drop it when there's no trouble to say, oh, it's a quarter of a mile down the road?
You've got a sign right outside your house.
Yes.
In metres, in the metric system,
Yes.
not imperial, which
That
is the
is-
way of the land.
It hasn't really changed anything for me. I totally understand it. I'd prefer it like that anyway. I have more important things in life to think about than that.
So are you a millimetres or centimetres man, or are you a inches and feet kind of guy?
Really inches and feet, but now we've changed to metric. There's no point in changing it back again now.
Would you prefer if that was in miles
I would,
or
actually.
kilometres?
Miles.
You prefer miles, yeah?
Yeah.
There are some that think the metrification of road signs is a good thing.
I used it at college as an engineer, scientists use it, agriculture uses it, so we think there are advantages to Britain if we adopted the metric system rather than muddling through with 2.
So the future is metric, whether we like it or
I
not?
think if we're going to succeed in a metric world, then people are going to have to be familiar with the metric system.
That's not how Tony sees it. So passionate about imperial signage, he's invited us to observe as he sets about rectifying what he sees as a confusing system.
So we've been following Tony, and he suddenly pulled into a petrol station. He's jumped out, and it looks like there's one particular sign that he's not happy with. This is what winds him up. Signs in kilometres. Doesn't sleep at night. He's cut little white signs out to cover up the kilometres. Tony's brought his own photographer along as well. It looks like he's catching all the action. What was going on there?
It's got the kilometres on, and what we've done is just blotted out the kilometres so that you've just got the miles to read.
But by you doing that, are you not worried that that might be illegal as well?
No, I've made it legal because the traffic signs regulations say it must only be in miles yards.
Should that be something that you can take into your own hands and do, though?
I've done it hundreds of times in the last 15 years. I was taken to court once, and although found guilty, that was overturned.
And what if someone from the pro-metric campaign went around and started picking your signs off?
They would be doing something illegal.
Thing is, for me, metric is just a bit too accurate. I quite like about a mile.
Ish.
Do you know what I mean? The toilets are 300 metres over there. I mean, you know, they're up there. You don't need to go that far, I think.
That is true.
Anyway.
We asked earlier for pictures of your glove boxes. Now, Sharon
been
has sent in a corker. Look at this. Sharon from Dorset. Now, she's got everything you would need.
In Dorset?
In Dorset, including
Glove
tea bags, a bit of spray, jammy dodgers.
That's a massive glove box, that, though, isn't it?
She might have a transit van.
I mean, just thinking of the size of the chocolate orange. Anyway.
That's a good
there you
glove
go.
box. Right, another quiz question for you now. Which county connects the record-breaking Bluebird car, the invention of pole vaulting, and the highest point in England? I think you probably know this.
Well, I am just waiting for the cogs to turn at home. The answer is, it's Cumbria. Interestingly, also the birthplace of Port William Wordsworth, and Arthur's been to visit his old stomping ground.
We all do things as children that we look back on later in life as adults and think, oh my God, what was I doing? But it was exciting. I remember that tree I was determined to climb, and I did, although it did cost me 2 trips to casualty. William Wordsworth, aged 10, stole a boat one night and took it out onto Ullswater, here in the Lake District.
The moment is captured in Wordsworth's masterpiece, The Prelude.
I went alone into a shepherd's boat, a skiff that to a willow tree was tied, within a rocky cove, its usual home.
To find out more, I'm going to Wordsworth's home, Dove Cottage, to meet Professor Simon Bainbridge.
Well, what we're looking at here, Arthur, is the very first manuscript of Wordsworth's great poem, The Prelude, written in his own hand.
Quite neat handwriting as well, I see.
It is. It's quite a beautiful object. Wordsworth begins writing in October 1798. At that stage, it's a series of short pieces. He continues working on this for the next 40 years and eventually became an epic story of his own life and was about 8,000 lines long once he'd finished it.
And it was, in a sense, one of the first ever autobiographies.
It was the first major literary biography in the English language.
It is rather special to be sitting here, to think that Wordsworth, this is him sitting here writing. He couldn't possibly have imagined that, you know, 200 and what's it years later, he'd have been on the One Show.
No.
Throughout the Prelude, Wordsworth refers to what he calls spots of time, moments that shape our lives. So back to Ullswater and the boat stealing episode.
The moon was up, the lake was shining clear among the hoary mountains. From the shore I pushed and struck the oars and struck again in cadence, and my little boat moved on.
So Wordsworth was about 10 years old. He was a schoolboy traveller in the summer holidays, as he tells us in the poem, and he came across a little boat, and he decides to borrow that boat, which is obviously a bit of a naughty thing to do, and he rows out onto Ullswater. And initially he's very excited, he's very proud of his skill as an oarsman, but then suddenly he starts to become scared of nature and slightly overwhelmed by his guilt at taking the boat. So he turns the boat round and he rows back to shore.
What was his relationship with nature then?
Sometimes nature for him is beautiful. You know, we think perhaps of the daffodils as the best example. But at other times, nature is a much more dark and frightening force. Wordsworth felt for him that it was these spots of time, these moments when he encountered nature in its darkest, most terrifying form, that actually, you know, they contributed most to his development.
Well, obviously, I couldn't come all the way here without reenacting Wordsworth's epic illegal rowing escapade, although I don't think he was wearing a red life jacket.
I struck and struck again, and growing still in stature, the huge cliff rose up between me and the stars, and still with measured motion, like a living thing, strode after me.
Out here in the middle of the lake, you can get a sense of how these mountains reared up and inspired and terrified the young Wordsworth.
And I've tried to let it do the same for me.
Too soon, I know, I'll be back in the town, the clamour, the grinding of the wheels going round. But I'll sip at the cocktail these memories make. These mountains, these stars, this moon, this lake.
Well, from the words poetically rolling off Arthur's tongue to the words here on our car-themed The Wall, OK, from Only Connect. So basically, you've got 16 words here. They're all themed into groups of 4, but what are the 4? Here's the results. So, the first line, there you go. They are all appear in film titles. The second line, they're all mythical or mythological creatures. The third line, song titles, if you are wondering, from a Buick 6 there, Bob Dylan. And finally, line 4, animals. But hopefully, well, they threw you off the piss a little bit. In fact, we know they did, because nobody at home got any of the right answers. So there we are.
There you are. So we asked about glove boxes. We've got some brilliant ones in. Go on, Victoria.
Well, this is
was pretty
Caroline's. This is
impressive.
Caroline. I mean, we all have a few mackerel fillets in the glove compartment, but Caroline's really got several, really, a few tins there.
It's quite random. This one is food as well. This is Susan's refrigerated glove box with a bit of luncheon meat, some butter.
And well done to Steve, who is using the glove box for exactly what it should be used for. Good stuff.
Taking it literally.
There you have. And that's all we've got time for tonight. A big thanks to our guest, Victoria Corin Mitchell. You can listen to her new show, Women Talking All About Cars, tomorrow at 6:30 on Radio 4.
Very good. And don't forget, we've got some great guests after that. Tim Peake and Claire Bolden. See you then. Bye.
Good night.
Radio 5 Live now has full commentary on Liverpool's quarter-final EFL Cup clash with Leeds. Tomorrow night, at the same stage of the competition, air coverage as Manchester United face West Ham.
The BBC Music Awards are almost here, with John Legend just announced. Get ready for an unmissable night of live music, Monday the 12th of December on BBC One.
Over 10 days, 10 Muslims share a house, their lives, and their conflicting views.
Being gay and being Muslim are not mutually exclusive things.
Of what it means to be Muslim.
We go to school, we go to university, we work. How else do you want me to integrate?
You are harming Islam.
I'm black and I'm Muslim, which means everywhere I go, someone hates me. Muslims Like Us starts Monday, 12th of December on BBC Two.
Come on in, love. You're really pretty.
Thank you. Did you follow me home, Mr. Christie?
What do you do to her?
Wellington Place starts tonight at 9 on BBC One. So that's All Star Cast featuring Tim Roth and Samantha Morton in tonight's brand new drama at 9. Right now on BBC One, it's a testing time for Phil.
Ready?
4:45, yeah? Jenny, breathe. You coming?
No, go and clean your teeth. I've got work.
We need to show Dad that he's got support. Well, Ben's got the garage to run. You do realise that if he doesn't get through these tests and they don't put him on the list...
Do you want me to come?
See? Jake cares.
Look, you can sort out Jenny after school. If he ever gets there. Oh, only if you're sure.
Yeah, me and Louise. We'll be fine.
What, are you looking at schools?
One near boy's been rated outstanding.
Vicky, Amy.
They're really going to miss their friends.
Well, don't make new ones. I was thinking, tell them tonight.
What's the hurry?
I'll give it all time to sink in.
Yeah, but...
Now you put the house on the market, I reckon we should put the gym on too. Whole new start.
Oi! Kathy! You're not decorating this year? No, we wait till December, yeah. A bit more traditional. We're planning to change the licence. Going to start doing breakfasts. So I heard. Very loyal, my staff. Well, let's just hope the kitchens are clean. Wouldn't want a visit from the environmental health. All good for business, innit? Bit of competition. What, you eat some old sausages? I wouldn't call that competition.
Doesn't your mummy look lovely? All dressed up for a new job.
It's something.
You still got the label on it.
Gaia. Isn't she funny?
And you gone yet?
I'm going.
Tell you what, they think they invented hormones.
When I was their age, I was just thinking about whether I should sleep with Peter or not. Not that that's what Bex is doing. Oh, nice paint job.
Oh yeah, Martin has his uses.
Are you sure you're all right with this?
One more ain't gonna work, is it? Are you sure you're all right?
I've got to let go of him sometime, haven't I? Right, I'll give you the money by the end of the week, yeah?
All right.
You be good, all right? You be good. I know. Be good for Auntie Stacey.
Oh, say bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mummy.
Bye-bye, baby.
Go on, you go. Go and sharpen your pencils.
That's all I can have as a snack. Unsalted nut.
They're just suggestions.
I ain't a squirrel.
I know it's hard.
I've given up booze, and now I can't even have salt.
No one is forcing you to have a transplant assessment. But if you want this, then you're going to have to make the most of the chance that's been given to you.
Test me all day yesterday. Test me all day today.
And we'll test you all day tomorrow and the day after that, and then we'll sit together as a team and we'll decide whether to put you on the list. You know the score. You have to want this. Not just for others, for yourself.
So you was saying, once we'd not.